Hi, ma'am. Good evening. Ma'am, sir is already here.
Oh, he has joined? I
Yeah,
can't
ma'am.
see him.
Sir is here.
But I can't see him.
Yeah, I'm there. Thank you.
Shall we start, sir?
Sure.
Sure, sir. So, good evening to our esteemed guest and my fellow batchmates. The guest speaker who has graced us with his presence today does not require an introduction. His reputation precedes him and speaks for itself. Ladies and gentlemen, I feel profusely overjoyed to welcome Mr. Amitabh Ray, Managing Director, Ericsson India Global Services. Mr. Amitabh is an experienced professional with a demonstrated history of working in corporate strategy, management consulting, change management, and systems integration. Mr. Amitabh have developed and managed a diverse group of clients in both private and government sectors in Asia, Europe, and United States. Mr. Amitabh specializes in building large ICT organizations and has been instrumental in establishing global hubs for top Fortune 500 companies in the areas of R&D, product development, sales support, and services delivery. Mr. Amitabh is a TEDx speaker and prolific blogger. He has made it to covers of different technology magazines and have been quoted in the number of publications on important corporate and future technology issues. He has been nominated to the prestigious list of LinkedIn Power Profiles in India for 4 years and has been recognized by the Inside Success magazine as 30 Young and Dynamic Entrepreneurs in 2017. Before joining Ericsson, Mr. Amitabh worked as Vice President in IBM and a partner at PwC. Sir, it's an honor and a privilege to host such an accomplished personality like you at the School of Management and Entrepreneurship, IIT Jodhpur. The digital stage is all yours, sir.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. And it's indeed a privilege to come and share my experience and thoughts with so many intelligent, budding professionals or future professionals. I always truly enjoy having such interaction, and what I understood from Keshav and others that interactive session, so I'll not go with any presentation per se. I will just talk about today's topic, what I was asked to discuss and talk about was survival strategies, the industry leadership response to the modern pandemic. What I want to talk about how the businesses have successfully pivoted during the pandemic, or it turned around and then found its own course during this pandemic. The pandemic triggered a panic reaction in the first few months. So, about, let's say, a year back, if someone in last December told me that any of the following events will take place, like US Treasury will print more dollar bills than they have printed in 3 months' time, than they have printed in the history of US Treasury. If somebody told me that, in a month, oil will be sold at a negative price, you buy a barrel of oil and you'll be paid some money for taking it. Every company will be, over leveraged. Debt equity ratio will go haywire. And the entire world will come to a stop for months together. I wouldn't have believed any of this. It's unfortunate and tragic event what happened, but I look at it with a little bit optimism as well. I think we are lucky generation who could see once in a lifetime event like this happening or unfolding in front of our ears. So the pandemic kind of impacted all the industries, from retail to hospitality to airlines, manufacturing, real estate. There was hardly any industry that were not adversely impacted by the pandemic. The remote everything economy become business as usual. Technology companies like Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, Netflix, during this time set record highs in the Dow Jones. This was natural because the digital platform enabling remote delivery. However, not every company or every industry found the going easy. And even in tech industry, I can give you an example, a company like Spotify, right? The global leader in music streaming. In principle, people would think that, okay, they will have a good time because they're using a digital platform. And then Spotify's business model, as you understand, they rely hugely on the advertisement. Yeah? They thought that customers trapped in their homes would like to escape from a depressing reality by listening songs seamlessly streamed to a playback device without any need of physical distribution. But that did not happen for them. They changed their strategy and they turned to podcast to survive. And yet the Swedish company struggled to find a pivot that would enable it to become or overcome certain basic issues. Unlike Apple Music, Spotify disproportionately, as I mentioned, depends on the advertisement revenue. Okay, and they basically radically changed their strategy and moved from distributing music to distributing podcast, and then they saw turnaround in their business. The platform saw artists and users upload more than 150,000 podcasts in just 1 month. Okay, it has signed exclusive agreements and podcast deals with celebrities and shared to curate these playlists. The shift in strategy means that Spotify could become more of a tastemaker. At long last, the companies doubled down on Netflix not so secret recipe for success in a business in which copyright owners enjoy a healthy margin. I can give plenty of examples. One of the favorite example, which you all have also noticed, what we have seen, and we are trying to discuss here how businesses changed its strategy to become or stay relevant during this pandemic time. Restaurants became cloud kitchens. Cloud kitchen was a term I was not aware, frankly, even few months back. Okay, and they created different kind of flat rate for a set number of meals per week or per month with limited menu choices. Different restaurants did different things. Okay, they kind of learned how to manage captive demand. Okay, another thing they have done, they kind of created a menu list with a number of pre-cooked dishes, okay, with different sides or addition that could be prepared at home using ingredients supplied by the restaurant. So here you get the ingredients with whatever you want to cook, and then you make the cooking. Okay, and even some restaurants started sending video links to people, to help them through the preparation. Okay, incorporating an experiential and learning element to it. So people did different things. Companies changed not their product line, but shifted their strategy to focus on certain products. There are a lot of companies during this pandemic focused on personal hygiene product. Unilever is a good example. They started manufacturing large-scale personal hygiene product, including hand sanitizers and all, okay, surface cleaners, okay, and they would position those brands. One of the good example I have is Lifebuoy. How Lifebuoy started giving more ads around personal hygiene and then, sanitization of a particular place or a person over the other products, okay? And then their in-home consumption has increased beyond a point. Similar examples you can see for companies like Unilever, I mentioned Procter & Gamble for another example, okay? But how do you make, or companies make this pivot work or this turnaround of strategy work, okay? Not every time this kind of turnaround resulted in good business performance. There are some conditions which are necessary for such lateral movement to work. Okay. Firstly, it has to align with companies' long-term business strategy. Okay. It also needs to align itself with problem created by the pandemic, including the remote work, okay, shorter supply chain, social distancing, okay, consumer introspection, okay, enhanced use of technology. For instance, the social distancing remains the rule for near future. An example is, let's say, the casual dating platform, Tinder, will need to follow competitors Bumble or Facebook dating in offering video dating, let's say. We have seen over the past few months, tools like or products like Zoom become so popular because they utilized the opportunity created because of work from home and social distancing norms. Okay. Also, this pivot has to have certain tie-up with firms or companies' existing capabilities. Okay. You cannot undermine that. Okay. It's a strategic intent. Okay. Faced by this sudden change in travel, companies like Airbnb moved swiftly to help host financially, connect them with potential guests. Okay. Host can now offer online event focused on cooking, meditation and art therapy, magic, songwriting, virtual tours, and many other activities. Okay. And users can join by paying a very modest fees because their homes are not being utilized as a B&B facility or bread and breakfast facility. And this particular resonates very well with Airbnb's evolving approach from its traditional business model of facilitating match between a host and a guest, and to move into a much larger lifestyle platform. Airbnb with this could become a platform, which will be utilized in a bigger way, thus allowing them to make bigger business. Let's take example of Indian companies, and I can give tons and tons of such examples. Let's talk about two. So I would say that Indian companies didn't waste the crisis either. Okay. Overall, 64% of Indian business reported that they were ready to meet the new workplace demand in the wake of coronavirus pandemic, and are leveraging collaboration using tech tools to ensure uninterrupted work. Well, for many entrepreneurs, COVID-19 came as a blessing in disguise. These difficult times not only enabled them to pivot their business operations, but also to grow their business. So it was not about changing their plans a little bit here and there and growing their business. A good example would be Hula Global. Karan Bose, a founder of Noida-based Hula Global, a garment manufacturing company, he moved his business to manufacture N95 masks and surgical gowns, among other essential items in times of coronavirus. Hula Global, prior to that, was a large-scale manufacturer of garment for export. And that export stopped. They took the opportunity swiftly to create new businesses for the company and become hugely successful. The story of Workshala is also an example of how a company emerged out of COVID-19 crisis in a much stronger way. Founded in 2013 by Manoj Khandelwal, the Bangalore-based company is actually a co-working space. All of you are now aware of this new avatar of corporate leasing called co-working. As most people started working from home due to coronavirus, the company came up with an initiative called Homescape by providing furniture to people from home. It's now providing tables and chairs and desks to help improve individuals' productivity and provide them with comfort and ease at the same time. Because they had the huge facility empty. They just utilized those furnitures and moved them to the users, and thus creating a whole new experience or a business model. From technology side, I can say there is a technology pivot related to this. Most companies are spending more on security and collaboration as they navigate this new normal. Okay, hotel chains are investing in technology that enables contactless check-in and check-out. Some are even looking for infusing a digital layer at all possible points of contact between employees and the customer to ensure that the customer are comfortable. Okay, there are companies in the technology space, they are utilizing that. Car makers, the car sale dropped quite a lot in the beginning of the pandemic, and they bounced back because they switched to digital experience sharing, and people could order a test drive using digital platform, and they could share experience, they could buy cars even using the digital platform. So companies did different things. Okay, I would like to finish my talk by saying one thing. Crisis creates huge opportunity for innovation, and we have seen that, or the research has shown that innovation bunch up during crises. An economist, Alfred Kinsler, tracked patents creation generated from 1901 to 2005. And there was clear spikes, he noticed, on innovation activities, okay, during the long depression of 1870s, 1880s, and the Great Depression of 1930s. Okay, the magnetic tape recorder, helicopter, nylon, the ballpoint pen were milestone innovations during 1929-1930 depression. Okay, even if we talk about our own industry, technology, you'll be surprised to know some of the largest tech companies of today, they were created during a crisis period. Okay, ARM was founded in 1990s in UK. That the largest manufacturer of processors. IBM, or forget about IBM now. Microsoft was founded in New Mexico in April 1975 during a depression, financial depression. Same as Hewlett Packard in 1939. Okay, I'll finish with one last story, how innovation helps companies to create newer strategy and pivot around the problem. 2008-2009 financial meltdown. I still clearly remember those because I was in my profession and our projects took a huge hit because customers started, spending less. Back in October 2007, two housemates, they used to stay in a rented house, Brian Chexi and Joe Gebbia. They are unable to pay their rent. So what they have done, they have turned their living room into a bed and breakfast and set up a website charging $80 per person. And they started doing some business. In 2008, they also joined by their former roommate, Tech Wiz Nathan. And he created a site. He said, okay, let's make it more popular. Let's take advantage of internet. Okay. And he created a site called airbedandbreakfast.com. And it was officially launched on August 11th, 2008. 2009, the site name was shortened to airbnb.com. Last example, WhatsApp was founded in 2009 by Brian Action and Jan Komer. True innovators are seldom daunted by any crisis or economic condition. Okay, and as I said, there are tons of such examples. During the dot-com bubble, after that dot-com bubble bursted in 2001, when every company, tech company, was struggling, Steve Jobs came with this brilliant idea with new personal music player. Okay, he said that I will put 1,000 songs in your pocket. And he launched in 23rd of October 2001, iPod, and the rest is history. So I think the COVID challenge will spark another round of innovation, which will witness, very different kind of activities. Primarily, it will be driven by what I call distance dynamics. You'll have to maintain distance even after vaccines are available. People will be worried. So the technology which can make things possible remotely, like AR and VR, usage of AR and VR, and create a mixed reality to have, zero touch experience in hospitality industry. Okay? This will also create a new set of organization, okay? And you will find that they will be surviving and thriving through the crisis. Okay? So with that, let me stop here, because I would like to have this more interactive.
Sure, sir. Sure. Why not, sir? Sir, thank you so much for so many insights, sir. So we do have a couple of questions. Then we will move on and take the questions from the bat, sir. So shall I go on, sir?
Sure.
Okay. So, sir, during the decades of your journey in the industry as a prominent leader, sir, what are your basic key takeaways, sir? I mean, during all these decades of your journey as a prominent industry leader, sir, what would you say as your key takeaways?
With reference to this pandemic, or just?
Sir, no, sir, just the general journey, sir. The entire journey, including the pandemic, sir.
I think my biggest takeaway is you just take a day as it comes. Okay? I am not a person who will go for very long-term planning. I am not a very big supporter of that. Because it's very difficult to predict the future, and especially in today's time when I would say, the cycle time of changing is becoming shorter and shorter and shorter. It's very difficult to predict anything. I joked some time back, I posted something in LinkedIn saying that, okay, so in 2015, nobody cracked this question, which very commonly asked during interview: where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Right? What is going to happen 5 years from now? Nobody could crack that. And 5 years, in my mind, is a very long time span. I think what is important is to take a day as it comes. It may not be a day, it could be a month, it could be a project, it could be a milestone. Now you're studying, so finish your study and do whatever and put all your effort and focus towards that and don't worry about the future. I have seen in my career people, they think long term, they stress themselves, well, now I'll have studied this, then I'll go and do this PhD, or I'll take this kind of experience, then I'll try to jump into this industry. I don't know. It might work for some people, but I have my doubts. Or even in the job, I see people, they stress about, okay, now when I'm going to get the next promotion, when the next job I'll get, when I'll move, I'll change my role. So I'd say that, okay, given a task, put all your focus in that and do your best or deliver that to the best of your ability. That is the only thing can ensure that you will move to the next level and next level and next level. Okay? By stressing what is going to happen, you don't know. Even I'm talking here with students, right? All of us know that, I was reading World Economic Forum, published a report last year, and it says that, people who are in engineering college, right? By the time they become graduate, some 40% of what they learn becomes obsolete. And Moore's law, right? It's changing. Things are changing much faster. I can tell you the other study I have seen from World Economic Forum as well. It says by 2030, the jobs will be available. 60% of those jobs are yet to be invented. And I can give here 10 such examples. The jobs which are very, very popular today was not there 10 years back. So cycle time becomes that short, 10 years. In our time, we could perhaps think of 10 years. In 10 years, what's going to happen to the industry? In your time, in your era, you don't know. So don't stress too much beyond a point. And that's my learning. And it helped me. And again, different people, they have different take on this.
Thank you so much for this answer, sir. So my second question for you is, sir, as we all know that in 2020, we got stuck by the rarest of the rare circumstances, a modern pandemic, something which we never even dreamt of. So what was the first reaction of the leadership at Ericsson India Global Services? And how did this modern pandemic reshape the way the leadership works?
Yeah, good question. So you see, firstly, let's put this disruption into perspective. And then I will say that how I looked into it, or I still look at it. In my mind, disruption have always been there. In my short career, I have seen plenty of those. My first experience as managing a project and handling a disruption was September 2001, when there was this first large-scale global terror attack happened in US. The Twin Tower, the World Trade Center got demolished. I still remember that evening. I was working in my office in PwC, and in the afternoon, I was going through my last proposal, revision. That evening, I was supposed to present to one of the US client, and everything was lined up, and we were supposed to get a huge project. And around 5:30 or so, if I recall it correctly, a colleague of mine came and said, okay, let's come to canteen and see what's happening. I saw in front of my eyes the towers crumbling, and so as my dreams. That project never happened. 3 of my colleagues died in those 3 aircraft crashed. And and then travel ban, we had hundreds of people working in US, could not bring them. And then there was, huge or massive chaos. Well, things moved on. The next disruption I have faced was Enron bankruptcy. And again, in 2000, end of 2000. As you know, Enron was world's largest company in those days. Okay, and there was some financial anomalies found. World's largest company, and their auditor was Arthur Andersen, was world's largest, auditing company. And our competition, I was in Pricewaterhouse those days. In one day, both the companies got vanished from earth. One day, right? And it created a financial crisis. Arthur Andersen gone, Enron gone. Their CEOs, but both the companies got arrested. Okay. Well, how it impacted my life? Of course, there was a recession in the US, but over and above, SEC, Security Exchange Commission in US, it's equivalent to our SEBI, which governs and monitors stock market, right? They figured it out that large companies which are doing auditing business also has consulting practice. There is a challenge with that there. So therefore, they said, well, your independence will be compromised as auditor if you're taking more revenue from the customer in the consulting side than the auditing side, right? That's what happened with Arthur Andersen and in those days. So they said all the big four companies. In those days, it used to be big five. Andersen gone, so it's big four. They said you'll have to hive off your consulting business. In October 2002, PwC had to exit consulting business. And IBM bought the consulting arm of PwC, and my life changed forever. I moved from PwC to IBM without applying for any job, right? Very different kind of business, but well, that's a different story. I was doing good over there, and then, in 2008 September, you might recall there was a Lehman Brothers collapse. Out of 20 largest of the world, financial institution collapsed in one single week. Okay? Lehman Brothers, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, Freddie Mac, you can name AIG, Citibank, everybody. US government had to announce $1 trillion bailout package to make some of them survive, the companies you see today. Most of them could not survive. Well, customers, huge depression in the worldwide market. Customers stopped giving projects and all. First time we had to innovate our way to go and attach our revenue with customers' benefit. Benefit-driven revenue was an invention or innovation from that particular crisis. Well, first time in IBM, we implemented it for Bharti Airtel in India. I said, okay, we'll work in a revenue, sharing mode, and a lot of companies they did it. Okay, and since then, from 2008 to January 2020, COVID-19. So, I would say in my career, disruption has always been there. But this time, the world has come to a grinding halt. We have never noticed like this empty skies, football happening in empty stadium, okay? Streets were empty in even cities like New York or Calcutta or Delhi or Bombay. Well, factories without workers. It was pretty different. I think companies like Ericsson, leadership took the right decision to pivot back and create a more resilient IT infrastructure so that we could help our customers to drive or deliver their business commitment to their consumers. And I would say it is less of leadership, more of our employees who raise to the occasion and ensured that they deliver what is expected out of them. I think I'm very grateful to all our employees who did what is the right thing to do during this pandemic without sacrificing, the personal safety and security. And then, of course, the company provided all the infrastructural support to do that. Okay.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an insightful answer once again. So, Lakhan, you can.
Yeah, thank you for the session. So, sir, you have been talking about innovation and the pandemic. So, regarding this, I remembered reading that the top 10 pharma's companies, they invest around $2 billion to come up with a new drug. And I was reading that how basically the R&D is getting costlier and the return is on a decline. So I'm just wondering, what are your thoughts? Like, what is the future here? Is R&D becoming less lucrative for companies, be it giants or new? Like, what is the scenario when it comes to R&D, sir? Because I have read that on your profile, you are actually involved with the R&D process. It had me curious.
Yeah, you see, in pharma, we see a very interesting trend today, and this is what crisis creates. First time, some of the world's largest competing pharmaceuticals, they are now collaborating in R&D to come up with this vaccine faster. If you Google, you'll find some of the giants, they are working together, or they work together to make this happen. So that is very interesting. I wouldn't be able to comment on, on that side. I think innovation, invention will be the key for any company to survive and thrive during crisis or beyond it. I can tell about our company, Ericsson. We never thought about cost cutting during this pandemic. We of course thought that we should be very careful in terms of spending money, so we should not waste money, because that could be a challenge later on. But as a company, we actually increased our spend in R&D, because that's the only way you can stay ahead of the curve. And I'll be very surprised if companies decide to cut R&D, especially companies who are driven by innovation during this crisis period. I don't think that will be the right thing for them to do, and they'll suffer in the long term. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that answer. Now, Raman, you can please go on.
Yeah, so thank you, sir. Thank you for that insightful session. So my question goes like this, with the coming times, the use of network orchestration as well as automation is of prime. So under this, the cloud technology is of prime usage. So what sort of employment opportunities can we as a batch of tech MBA students can look into it, when we enter into the workforce?
Yeah, I think if you look at the overall tech side of it, I see that COVID-19 brings 10 major ICT opportunities. Okay, and one is, of course, the digital platforms and big data. Right? The second one would be the smart cities and parks. How you do things with more touchless experience. Third is online healthcare services. Okay, we were not aware of this. Doctors are suggesting people over, WhatsApp calls, right, or video calls. It happened during this. We always knew that that's the next thing was going to come. I think that COVID-19 actually put Industry 4.0 on a steroid. Everything was happening, now happening faster. Online education services. Yeah, we've been saying it for last 5-6 years that that's where the education will move. Sometimes I actually argued that why we, maybe in another 20 years, we don't need universities or colleges and things like that. The way they exist today, it will be globalized by, usage of internet. But then now we see in every home somebody studying using mobile broadband connection or a Wi-Fi and a smartphone. Okay. The other technology ICT opportunities around remote office and online activities, I would say. In an area we are working, I think that is going to boost all of this, which is 5G industry application. The 5G is going to make a lot of these things possible. Contactless commerce, drone deliveries and all are not going to remain as science fiction for long because of this. Okay. Then supply chain management. The global supply chain management will see a huge change because the geopolitical scenarios people experience during this time, over dependence on a particular nation or few supply chain points, or what worked since last few decades came out of Japan called just in time, right? That's not going to work. Perhaps that will change. Okay. Robotics, both in the manufacturing area or in services. You'll see in clippings today available that there are hotels in India who are providing food, the hotel in-room dining through the robots. So these are the 10 major ICT opportunity, and each of them will be using the technology like cloud, as you mentioned, even edge computing, okay, big data, analytics. Okay. So huge opportunities are going to get created. It was there in the past, but as I said, COVID kind of put a shot in the arm, and these things are happening even faster. Technologies like AR, VR, like when we talk about the remote office and online activities, how they are going to get enabled, right? We're talking about the mixed reality, and then we are talking about using augmented reality, virtual reality, all those kind of things. Make sense?
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Raman. Thank you so much, sir, for answering that. Shubham, you can please go on.
Yeah, good evening, sir. And first of all, thanks for the session. So my question is like, you see, as you already mentioned, that after pandemic came, so the digitization process in firms has been ramped up. So in that regard, I would like to know your advice for budding entrepreneurs that how should they pitch in this situation?
Yeah, I think you'll have to look around the opportunities, what is new. So there you have some, advantage. Like we have seen in the past, digital payment, right? Government were pushing it for long. There were big players like Paytm and all, but the number of players came into that arena, has increased post-pandemic because that's a new area. So I would suggest that if you want to leverage this as an opportunity, you have to focus on, as I said, the distance dynamics, where the distance dynamic works, okay? Where you can bridge the gap between, human proximity and what is needed. That's where it will create newer opportunity. Apart from that, those 10 major areas I mentioned, okay? If you look at the industry side, okay, what is going to happen? You'll see that government will spend a lot on intelligent and modern government governance. Okay, the municipalities and the local bodies will focus a lot on decentralization of city clusters because it is getting overcrowded, and there's a lesson learned from that. Okay, accelerated healthcare and digital transformation across the industry. Okay, accelerated contactless business and services. Like I talked about online education service, okay, online supply chain management, okay, and then of course the whole transformation of supply chain. So these are the, you can call them a theme, and these themes are going to remain. We know the vaccine is going to be available very soon, but I don't think our offices will look like it used to be, ever. Right? The COVID-19 forced us to realize that a lot of the work which traditionally we do from office actually can be done or delivered remotely. You see, it is, some companies will look at it from cost perspective and try to see if we can save some money. Some companies will look at it from employee benefit perspective. Okay, so in Ericsson, we are looking at it, what would be our future of office strategy, saying how much flexibility people can get. I have office in Noida, I have office in Bangalore. People complain that some people, a quite vast majority, spend at least 3 hours on traffic every day, going to office and coming back. For them, the 3 hours of additional productivity is a huge gain. And on top of that, you have work-life balances and things like that. So, I think when we talk about that, what is going to the remote office and online activities look like, I see a lot of opportunities getting created in those areas, or will be created. So young entrepreneurs must look into it. The example I gave, that Bangalore-based company, right? They suddenly found a huge area of vacuum by providing furniture for home office.
Thank you so much, sir, for such a useful piece of advice. Thank you, Shivam. Thank you, sir, for answering that. So now, Abhinav, please go on. Abhinav, I guess you're not audible.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, Abhinav.
Yeah, am I audible now?
Yeah.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Thanks for the insightful session. My question is that you talked about strategies of different organizations. So, in future, what should a company focus on? Product based on the community's understanding, just like Tesla, Netflix, or OnePlus is doing, or just making product for profit making without getting much feedback?
Good question. I think what is going to happen going forward, and this has nothing to do with COVID-19 per se. Okay, I think companies will more and more have to look at coming up with solutions which does not compromise the environment. I think that is going to be very, very important. It has to be environment friendly. Okay, it should create positive outcome in terms of society. I call them triple P. Companies will have to focus on this triple P. One is, of course, the environment around us, then it's people, and then profit. I think planet, people, and profit. And that's how the things will come in terms of its importance. The planet will become number one. Sustainability is important today. It's going to be even important tomorrow. So the planet, and then people, inside the company, outside the company, technologies you invent, we call it technology for good. That technology will have to have a larger purpose than just as a product, right? And then, of course, profit, because you need money to keep investing. But in that order, planet, people, profit.
Thanks a lot, sir, for this triple P model. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you so much, Abhinav, for the question, and thank you so much, sir, because we have already studied 4Ps, 7Ps. Now today we got the new concept of 3Ps. That's amazing, sir. Thank you so much. So, sir, Shubhadeep, would you like to go next, please?
Yeah. Good evening, sir. Thank you for this session. So actually, it is very beneficial for us to learn about your experiences in this disrupting time because we are going through the same. So, sir, coming to my questions, I watch a lot of TEDx talks quite often, and I remember one of the speakers saying that attitude, skills can be taught, but attitude is forever. So, sir, and you yourself is a very prominent TEDx speaker. So, going by that, how do we shape ourselves in this tech-driven world where we can balance the skills and attitude in a way to prove ourselves or to establish ourselves in this tech-driven in this corporate world? So, what would be your advice to us in that regard?
Firstly, I don't think there is a conflict between these two. Right? There should not be any conflict. You'll have to have the right attitude. You'll have to have the skills. As people say that what is the difference between a dream and a plan, right? Or reality. Like if a dream, you don't have any plan to make it reality, and dream added with the plan becomes reality. So it's like that. So you'll have to have the right attitude. I would give you one piece of advice from attitude side. You all are studying in one of the best institutes we have in the country. And I'm not talking about you, per se. I've seen people coming out of very good educational institute. They kind of start thinking that we have arrived by getting an admission into IIT. Life is made. I think that's a very wrong assumption to go by. You will never arrive. One of my bosses long time back told me. Sometimes if you're good, it creates a sense of entitlement. I have studied in IIM. I have studied in, Oxford, Harvard, or this school, that school. That creates some kind of entitlement. So I would say try to stay away from that, because that only help you to put a step inside the door. Beyond that, it's extremely, extremely difficult. I recently published a book called The Second Arrow, and I wrote a chapter over there that one of the attitudes should be that I have never arrived. Okay, you are still learning till the end. And if you have that attitude of a learner, and that will be more important. People say positive attitude, be positive. Yeah, that's fine. But I think going forward in your generation, what you would need perhaps, the attitude of a learner. Because I can guarantee you, whatever you are trying to think today that you will do 10 years from now, you can note it down and drop me a mail 10 years down the line. It's not going to be there. Things are moving so fast. Last 200 years of tech innovation got squeezed into 20 years. So in next 20 years or 10 years, you will see what in last 200 years we have experienced. And this is scientifically proven. It's not that I am speaking. So have that attitude of a learner. You have never arrived. You are just learning. And that attitude will help you to acquire skills. And I'll share one quotation of one of my, favorite sculptor or artist, whatever you call him. He said that in his last piece of work, when somebody said that what you are doing, and he said, I'm still learning. And if you can internalize that, you are very, very safe. Okay, that's the kind of attitude you have. Then that will help you to acquire more skills.
Thank you so much, sir, for that.
Thank you, sir. After joining SME, this sense of entitlement kind of getting into our head. So how to keep it aside and focus on learning aspect of this whole thing?
Well, look around. I think you will find people who did so well and who did not do that well. And then you will yourself find the difference. Why and how? Try to find out. Past batch, 5 years before, people who passed out, where are they, what they have done, and you will see some people did very well and some people did not. Okay. Maybe score was same between those two. Maybe somebody scored more, could not deliver. And why? I think this is the only difference, because that entitlement thing came in. I have seen in hundreds or literally thousands of cases. Because if you have that challenger mindset, in any tournament, if you talk to a coach of a team, they will say that they fear more the number 2 or number 3 than the number 1. Because the hunger is more in number 2 and number 3 to become number 1. Right? So they can really go above and beyond the call of duty. That's what happens.
Thank you so much, sir.
So, sir, I would like to take this moment to congratulate you on the behalf of entire School of Management and Entrepreneurship, IIT Jodhpur, for the launch of your book, The Second Arrow, sir. Sir, this title, sir, it's very interesting, sir. So, would you like to narrate the story behind the choosing of this title and shed some light on the contents of the book?
The content of the book is my learning from. I am fairly fortunate to work for 3 centurion companies. Pricewaterhouse, Coopers, IBM, now Ericsson. Each of these companies are over 100 years old. So, and what I was talking, that I see people becoming very successful in my career, and I see people who are not so successful. Maybe they have done better degrees, they have better experience and all. What always made me inquisitive, the question I think Shubhadeep asked, that what makes a company successful, an individual successful, and another company or another individual, what make them to fail. So I started looking at what is common between these. Why some individuals are more successful than others, okay, and why some are not. So I figured out from my experience few of the common things, right? And some of those got discussed here, and some of those additional points are there in the book. So this is basically a book which narrates my experience from this 3 centurion organization, and by looking at people and the companies, that what make them successful. What I call is what is the art of staying relevant? How do you keep yourself relevant in any time? As I said, that when people talk about COVID-19 disruption, yes, it is a different scale and different disruption, but I look at it from a perspective, it's always there in my life. I gave you an example of 5 other disruptions, which kind of had more impact than COVID-19 in my life, right? So how I survived and thrived through those. So it basically talks about those experiences. Okay, and then you talk about this name of the book. It's actually a story from Lord Buddha, you know, and it's so well gel with today's topic. That how do you handle disruption? Because in your life, disruptions will be more. In your generation, it will be more than mine because of, again, cycle time, right? Tech cycle time has changed a lot and it's becoming faster and faster. There will be AI, there will be machine learning, and a lot of those things you'll have to deal with. So things will happen to you. And then things happen to me. I got the lowest rating in a company. I was hated by my boss. And then I stayed in that same company. I become an executive of that company. So how I dealt with that is the experience. And that experience I shared. So second arrow is a story Lord Buddha told his followers. That an arrow can come and hit you. That's the first arrow. Every arrow or every problem in life comes with a second arrow. First arrow you cannot control. So I cannot control when COVID come and hit me. I could not control when Twin Tower collapsed in US and my project gone and my colleagues died. But he said that first, every arrow comes with a second arrow. The second arrow is, how do you react to your first arrow? So here is COVID and you cannot go to the college and you have to pass out and there may be you might worry that there will be a recession in the industry and you might not get a job and you get depressed, right? That is the second arrow. It will hit you. When a first arrow, a big arrow hits you, always there is a second arrow. That second arrow is the reaction you have to the first arrow of the problem. So he said the first one you cannot handle, or first one you cannot change, but you can always change the second, how you will react to a situation. So when I'm in trouble, how do I react to those troubles? So that's why the name of that story is also there, and then a couple of examples of when I got hit by such arrows, how I reacted, and then survived. So that's the story.
Very well titled, sir, I must say. We look forward so that we can buy it online and we can read it more. Sir, do we have time for one last question, sir?
Sure.
Sure. Suresh, you can please go ahead.
Good evening, sir. Thank you for your time, sir. So, sir, my question, I would like to rewind the time a little. So let's go back to 2004, where Sony Ericsson, were the talk of the town. Everybody, was just need to get the Express Music version of Sony Ericsson. And they were around 103 million users at one point of time before the launch of iPhone. And after the iPhone, the entire industry completely changed. And then Sony and Ericsson also split. Sony acquired the hardware part and everything. But till now itself, if you look at this 2020 even, Sony launched 2 phones this year, but nobody knows about that. They launched their flagship Xperia 1 Mark II phone. Nobody knows that it came in March. It got released. They're launching the second version this year as well. So, sir, how has Sony and Ericsson, the partnership there? You talked about disruption, sir. So where was that disruption between Sony and Ericsson that created such a divide? And why Sony being such a huge, everywhere, to talk about in gaming, they have got PlayStations. That's just, you talk about the Bravia, television, electronics everywhere. But why not in mobile? And where did Ericsson, as an entity, they were not able to bridge that gap, sir? So I'm covering a lot of things, sir. So, yeah.
So, firstly, I will not comment on why Sony is failing. I think they'll have to look into their marketing strategy. I can tell you that when the merger happened between Sony and Ericsson, Ericsson was the market leader of the mobile handset, and that time that merger document, to my understanding, best of my knowledge, had this clause that after 10 years, one party can buy, each other's share. So 10 years or 5 years, whatever it was. So prior to that, Ericsson was the market leader. The reason of Ericsson moving out of that relationship was very simple. Like mobile phone sales is a consumer durable business, kind of, right? And like any such business, globally, some 7-8 companies make profit out of 200 mobile handset companies. Everybody's in loss, right? So until and unless you are focusing that much in that, and you have that mindset, it's very difficult to make money, especially when you have another business which is very much profit making. So let's say in mobile handset, you have a little bit of profit every handset, you say it's the number of handsets you sell. And then when you create a mobile broadband infrastructure, the margin is higher, right? Now, if you have two businesses like this, where one is very low margin, one is relatively higher margin, I think it's difficult for any company to ride these two horses for a long term. Because when you go to board for investment approval, why do you think board will approve your investment? If I have a 10% return versus 1% return, or 40% return versus 10% return, it's no brainer. If you have excess cash, you'll invest in a business which is giving more return. To the best of my understanding, that is the reason Ericsson moved out of that business, because but I can tell you, even today, employees feel very emotional about it. Because Ericsson was, the company invented phone, right? So from landline to even today, right? And then people don't feel good about it. It was an extremely emotional situation at that point in time, even today. But I think that was a very good management decision. Okay, so talking about that book, there is a, chapter on it, doing the right thing versus doing thing right. Okay, you'll have to differentiate between these two. And as you grow in any organization, you will always be having this dilemma between doing the right thing versus doing things right. And you have to take the right decision. I think the company took the right decision at that point in time. But why they are not, I think they also have the same thing. I think by selling a TV, the money they make, they don't make that money by selling a cell phone. So, but you can say on the other hand, Samsung is also in that business, and how they are making it. Different companies, different strategy.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your answer.
Well, thank you so much, sir. We never pictured it like this. It was such an insightful session, sir. So on the behalf of entire School of Management and Entrepreneurship, I would like to express our heartfelt gratitude. And sir, thank you so much for enlightening us, for advising us, and for guiding us, sir. It was, as I said, it was an honor and a privilege to host you, sir.
Thank you. As I quoted once during the question answer, Michelangelo, by saying that till the last day of his life, he said, I am still learning. And I would like to finish with one of the quote from my favorite philosopher, Voltaire, you all know. And that gels so well with today's environment around us. So Voltaire said that uncertainty is an uncomfortable position. Uncertainty is an uncomfortable position, but certainty is an absurd one. So don't even think of that. Change is always the only constant thing in life, and you will all do just great with this changing time. I wish you all the very best. Thank you very much. It was nice talking to you.
Thank you so much. Sir, I just invite you to, and rather, we would love to host you on 800 plus acres of our sprawlingly beautiful campus, sir. We have got our own wildlife sanctuary also inside that. So once things get back to normal, sir, we would love to host you.
Look forward to that.
Thank
I'll
you, sir.
definitely come. Thank you. All the best. Take care and stay safe. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.